If you want to learn about Islam and Muslims, stay tuned.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening. You are listening to Let's Talk, our weekly current affairs show with me, Akil Khalil, and my co-host Hamid Chowdhury.
Assalamu alaikum.
On Salaam Radio 106.2 FM and Inspire FM in Luton. We are online at salamradio.co.uk, and you can also find us on social media at Salaam Radio. We're also live on YouTube or via iOS and Android apps. We are always on air 24/7, 365, uniting all communities. Please get involved with your opinions tonight. You can call us on 01733 602 133 or text WhatsApp us on 07745278978. Tonight we'll be discussing the Qatar crisis. Is Qatar's growing global influence undermining Saudi Arabia's global dominance? That's the question. Before we get to that though, we have a very, very special guest in the studio with us tonight, and that is the one and only Mr. Brother Amr Sulaiman.
Assalamu alaikum. Good to be back.
The return.
I don't know how to feel right now, bro.
Sorry?
I feel rusty on the controls because he's here.
Yeah, you're feeling overpowered, are you?
I hope not. I really hope not.
I'm having palpitations.
Yeah.
We got the Salaam Radio celebrity here, bro.
That's right, yeah, subhanAllah. I've already got his autograph.
Have you?
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get a couple of selfies after the show. You know?
No, listen, you guys, I want to thank you for asking me on. It's an honour, because you guys are taking this show to another level, seriously.
Well, any of the listeners who's listening tonight, this is Brother Amr from Friday Night Prime. You know, this is the man. They're all watching you on camera right now, bro.
I know how it works. Facebook Live, yeah, I'm aware.
It's an absolute honour for us, you know, brother. It's really...
No, thanks for asking me. It's weird to be back, but I feel privileged to be here.
We haven't had anyone in that seat since you've left.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah, that's why we keep
You've been keeping it warm for me?
Yeah.
Literally
We
warm.
use the other seat normally.
Oh, you leave the squeaky one for me.
Oh, my God. I think the other element to this as well is we do mention you quite a lot.
I know you do.
Pretty much on every show, I think you mention him.
Yeah, but he hasn't given me the money yet.
Oh, okay.
You know, he did say, look,
But-
£5.
Well, when you say something positive, I'll give you the money.
Guess I'm never going to get paid.
It is borderline.
It is, isn't it?
It is borderline, yeah.
Okay. How's your week?
Alhamdulillah, week's been good. Week's been busy. Oh, well, it's always busy, but yeah, it's been good. It's been warm, actually.
Understatement.
It has been.
Yeah, understatement, absolutely. But I'm told that you were saying that it's going to get hotter.
It's getting hotter, apparently.
Whew.
Hit another heat wave.
It's hot in this studio, brother.
I know. Because somebody didn't turn the AC on.
You're here. No names mentioned. Okay, so tonight we're going to be talking about the Qatar crisis. So just to recap on a few things that have happened, how we've got here. So the 5th of June, a number of Arab states, including Saudi Arabia and Egypt, they cut diplomatic ties with Qatar, accusing it of destabilizing the region, measures including closing the airspace to Qatar Airways, etc. Then on the 8th of June, Qatar vowed to not surrender its independence or any foreign policy after the US called for Gulf unity. Then on the 23rd of June, Qatar was given, and those infamous now, 10 days to comply with the 13 points of demands, which included shutting down Al Jazeera, closing the Turkish military, cutting ties with the Muslim Brotherhood, and curbing diplomatic relations with Iran. And then on the 1st of July, Qatar's foreign minister says the state had rejected the demands, but is ready to engage in dialogue. And then on the 3rd of July, which is where we almost are now, Saudi Arabia extended it to 48 hours. It's a big mess.
It is a big mess, yeah.
Huge.
Actually, it wasn't just they cut diplomatic ties, because I think countries do that at times. But this went further. You know, it was not just withdrawing ambassadors, but also effectively blockading Qatar from land, sea, and air. And I think that was a unprecedented move, really.
Although, from what I read online recently as well, the Egyptians are certainly denying the blockade element of it, which is in all intents and purposes, that's what's happening.
But it's Saudi-led, and they're part of that. Saudi, UAE, Bahrain, and Egypt. I'd be surprised if they're not been privy or even party to that.
Absolutely. I'm not going to lie to you, it came as a real shock.
Yeah.
I just I know it. Remember, this was.
Are they trying to backtrack now because obviously it's become a bit of a diplomatic crisis for the region?
I think the reason. I'll tell you what. I think Saudi Arabia must be shocked how much support Qatar has on the world stage.
Well, particularly from Turkey.
And you know what? Even America's got a vested interest here in Qatar. They've got 10,000 US troops.
Well, it's the largest US military airbase, isn't it?
Well, I think you've got the US administration on one side, led by Donald Trump, and you've got the Pentagon on the other side.
Yeah.
And I think it's really the Pentagon that's saying, look, we have great relationship with Qatar. They are, the accusations that have been thrown at them are accusations. There's no evidence provided. Trump, on the other hand, says that he's already reaped the fruits of his visit.
Yeah. he's laying claim to this.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Which you wouldn't expect any other way, to be honest.
Interesting stat, though, as we were talking there just about those 10,000 troops. Did you know that Qatar themselves paid £1 billion for that base themselves to host them? That's a staggering amount.
Staggering.
So it does make sense for the Pentagon to be like that. Well, hold on, they're living there for free.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Qatar's a small country. It's and I think it's military probably numbers in the 5 to 10,000, if that, really. Very small. So I think it having these close relationships with US and Britain helps its purpose, I suppose, and it extends its reach, its influence across the globe. Qatar, when it was first established, it was with the protector of the British. I mean, it was its agreement with the British that made it become effectively Qatar under the Al House of Fani, which is the current rulers.
Yeah. So it is a very, very small country, and obviously it's hugely wealthy. I think the highest GDP per capita in the world.
Yeah.
Which is not surprising considering this 2.7 million population. That's really quite small. But this blockade, the air, sea, and land closures, has really brought it to its knees to some extent. But they keep saying, what I've heard today, the foreign minister was saying that Qatar will live on indefinitely because of its strong economy and its wealth, basically. But I mean, he's saying that very, very confidently. But in all honesty, if you get all of your food imports from the land borders, there's trucks and trucks stopped at Saudi that can't get through.
Yeah,
I mean, eventually that's going to run out at some point, isn't it?
Well, I think initially on the 5th of June, when this whole kind of blockade happened, I guess there was this frenzy in Qatar where people started to stockpile food. But in essence, that didn't last that long because suddenly, although there was the initial sort of slump in food coming,
food came in by air,
food came in from Iran and Turkey in particular, and so their taste buds have shifted now. Whereas Turkish markets didn't really get an entry into Qatar, and now, the Qataris are kind of, I suppose from what I hear, happy with the produce of Turkey. They've actually got the labels now, translating.
Right. That's right.
Labels into Arabic. Yeah. So I was reading somebody's account. I think it was last week actually, who's moved out to Qatar probably 6 months ago.
Okay.
To work out there. Yeah. And he was saying, that was the initial thing, but by and large now it's settled down and people are quite bold and confident. I suppose if the government is coming, the confidence is coming from the top, and Qatar is a strong economy with a massive sovereign wealth fund.
Yeah.
Which could buy. I mean, maybe not indefinitely, but certainly for the foreseeable future.
A long time.
And I think that's kind of came as a bit of a surprise to the Saudis, the Egyptian, the Saudi-led kind of coalition.
Yeah.
That it hasn't come to its knees.
No. I mean, they're being quite vigorous in denying. I mean, this list of 13 things.
Yeah, 13 points.
There was a lot of unreasonable stuff in there. Yeah. A lot of unreasonable stuff. And what's funny is that they said this is the deadline and they give another 48 hours. And then the last I read is that there's no definitive plan of action as to what's going to happen going beyond this.
I'm surprised that the Saudis, with this kind of 13 points, they thought, Qatar will just sign the 13 points. I mean, the last line on that 13 points was that there'll be a monthly compliance for 1 year.
That's right.
Then there'll be a quarterly compliance in the second year, and an annual compliance for the next 10 years.
Wow.
An audit.
Wow. That's crazy. But isn't this all rather hypocritical? I'm stating the obvious here. from the Saudis.
It is.
I mean, this is ostensibly all about extremism, isn't it? Supporting extremism.
Well, I mean, yeah, but the 13 points don't mention any of that.
No, it doesn't.
no,
But that's what it behind that. That's what this is what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of these points then.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the first thing you see is Al Jazeera seems to be the real issue here for Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, and Egypt.
Yeah.
And to that end, if you recall, in 2015, 3 Al Jazeera journalists were jailed in Egypt for reporting on the uprising.
Yes.
I don't know, if you go back a couple of years. So
yeah,
we did do a little bit of research as well on Al Jazeera. And its funding model, etc. It was already in decline anyway. The revenues that it was getting from advertising and things like that had dropped, and the support from the state had declined because the previous emir, he was the guy who put a lot of money into Al Jazeera.
Right.
But the current emir was going a different direction. He wasn't pouring the same level of resources into the station.
Okay.
But it's interesting to see that they've gone straight for that.
Yeah.
Now, from what I've
Do you think it's an Al Jazeera conspiracy?
No, I definitely don't. I mean, to talk about Al Jazeera, its rise, it's been phenomenal. This was the first news network that was reporting facts, reporting, real-time information about what's actually happening in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And it won awards as well for reporting the uprising in Egypt. And so on and so forth, and yet now suddenly it's become the mouthpiece, allegedly now, from the Saudis for the Muslim Brotherhood, etc.
Right.
And there's too much of a positive spin on what's going on in Palestine and all these things, etc. Blah blah blah. And you just step back a little bit and you're thinking, so what is going on here? And I think it's genuinely the suppression of freedom of speech,
right,
and a different opinion to what the state's narrative is to the masses.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I think just coming back on the imprisoning of the journalists in Egypt, I think that was completely unjustified, and it didn't hold up to any international courts, the evidence that was provided. And I think the Al-Sisi, when he came into government, he did a crackdown and he literally arrested and imprisoned anyone he could see.
Yeah.
And that included any journalists that were reporting what was happening, especially in the place where so many were massacred by Al-Sisi's forces. But putting that to one side, yes, it is about silencing the free press to a large extent. Free here is in quote unquote because press in that region
it's anything but free.
It's anything but free. But Al Jazeera may be more freer than others, because because I suppose Qatar provides a model for some level of more liberation than other regional GCC countries.
Which is odd because it's a very conservative country, like most of the GCC.
You've been, haven't you?
Many times. Yeah. And it is conservative, but have you ever been to Abu Dhabi?
Yes.
Okay, so it reminds me of Abu Dhabi compared to Dubai. I mean, you've got this Western party culture in Dubai, but Qatar is very, very conservative. So you're absolutely right. To have that a slightly more increased flow of freedom of information seems odd because it doesn't go hand in hand with how the country is run effectively. In terms of,
when you say conservative, what does that mean, though? I mean,
so there's a lot of areas. They built this new areas in Qatar called West Bay. It's like the new part of Doha. And it's all like skyscrapers, gleaming offices and apartments and penthouses and all this lot. Now there, you've got hotels with open bars and free-flowing alcohol and all this stuff, which is reminiscent of Dubai. But then you've got the areas like the old souk and all that stuff, which is categorically Doha in terms of its Middle Eastern character, and it's very conservative because you won't find alcohol anywhere.
Right. Okay.
So there seems to be one little pocket of place to attract the expat workers.
Right.
So if you take that element out, it's like Sharjah, one of the Emirates of the UAE, which is dry in terms of no alcohol, and areas of Oman. So that's why I feel why is their press more free than other countries which are run the same way? I don't understand the difference. Why do you think it's the ruling family that have felt that that's the need, and if so, why are they different to other ruling families?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is definitely the ruling family.
Yeah,
they've had a major role to play. I mean, let me give you some stats here. I mean, it was launched in 1996. It became the most watched TV channel in the Arab world.
Yeah.
It claims to broadcast to more than 310 million households in more than 100 countries.
Yeah.
The company employs 3,000 people and has a London studio in the Shard.
Yeah.
Okay. It rose to global prominence after the 9/11 attacks in the US when it transmitted the grainy video messages from Osama bin Laden.
Right.
However, by this time, it already established itself for millions of views across the Middle East. A quote here for you. Then the then Emir Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani said, "Journalists would report the news as they see it." And Al Jazeera still claims to have been the first independent news channel in the Arab world. Now, as far as I'm concerned, '96, you got the top guy in Qatar saying they can report it as they see it.
Yeah.
I think they had a free rein.
Yeah.
I think he said, right, let them be.
Right.
Let's see what's happening in our world. Let's see what's happening in our part of the world.
Sure.
And obviously at the time, these sort of shackles from the neighbouring states weren't visible.
Yeah.
And so it allowed them to flourish.
Right.
And I think it's got too good for its own in their eyes anyway.
In their
Well, yeah, I mean, it's in that sense. I'm sure the father of the current emir, who that's when the son deposed him, but the father, it was his baby to a large extent,
right?
Al Jazeera, and you're right, he did actually want this kind of free press to whatever freedom means within the context of the Middle East, and to a large extent, I think it's lift off that, or even though the son is probably not too as much enthusiastic as his father was. But I think the problem and the reason why one of the points is to shut down Al Jazeera, certainly for the Saudis and Egyptians as well to a large extent, is that they don't necessarily criticize Qatar and the emirs, the royal family in Qatar, because obviously, why bite the hand that feeds you?
True.
But they are quite critical of Saudi Arabia and other, and especially Egypt during the the Arab Spring, and then post now the Sisi's there. So I think and they can't take that critique of themselves,
right?
But to a large extent they're living in the past, because the age of this kind of centralized media is pretty much coming to an end. I mean, you've got the you got the internet, you got YouTube, you got Twitter, you got all sorts of other
but brother, you say that
channels.
But you think about how many countries in the world still switch off the internet, switch off Facebook, switch off YouTube. Turkey, China,
that's true.
Pakistan. It happens, brother. I think we're not quite there yet. I think we're heading towards what you just said, certainly, which is... But
I mean, I think switching off the internet is a lot harder to do than switching off receiving a signal from Al Jazeera.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that's quite a broad thing I said there. But I mean, to that end, you will find...
The whole idea of the internet is it's resilient.
Yeah, that's true. But, hear me out, you have... most of these big companies will allow a switch of some description to governments, a back door to even suspend services for the time being while they try and suppress.
No, but we had that. We had that in
right?
Turkey, right?
Yeah.
When the thing happened over the park, Ghazi Park.
That's right.
And yet people were still able to, because the whole nature of the internet is that it can't. I mean, that's why it was originally designed for the military. That when one or two nodes are hit by the Russians at the time, the Cold War era, it will survive because there were so many nodes.
Correct. Yeah, I mean,
operate independently.
Famously, Israel, I recall seeing at the time as well in the industry as well. They were allowing their networks to broadcast signals so that anyone in neighbouring countries could pick up Wi-Fi connections for them to communicate with other people around the world, which is quite interesting.
Everyone except the Palestinians, of course.
Oh, of course. Yeah. For some reason, they can't have that Wi-Fi
No.
What do you think, brothers and sisters? Please do get involved in the conversation. You can call us in the studio. We've got Brother Amr here tonight, so
the expert
you can hear his dulcet tones.
Come on.
Qatar.
Our Qatari expert.
Well, you've lived there for a bit.
That counts, brother.
I'm sure it counts for something. Or what? I don't know.
Kebabs.
Kebabs,
So you can call the studio on 01733 602 133, or you can text WhatsApp us on 07745 278 978. So yeah, I mean, I can't see them doing anything with Al Jazeera for the time being. I've seen the journalists on that network themselves very defiant.
Well, it's not just the journalists, is it? It's the government that's saying that, or at least the Emir's office that's saying that Al Jazeera is off the table. There was no, because that's part of its. Well, funnily enough, it's become part of its national identity.
Yeah,
all of a sudden,
it really has.
Because I reckon prior to the Qatari crisis, people probably didn't know where Al Jazeera came from.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. Obviously, I think those in the Muslim world probably had more of a clue than those not in the Muslim world. I think that's true. But I think it's just going back to the point you made about the freedom that was given to Al Jazeera in some sense. that led to a lot of traction in terms of viewers and listeners and followers, because it grew very, very quickly, didn't it, as a news organisation. And it became a trusted source, certainly in the Muslim world, of news information. And they did sports well as well, actually, didn't they? They covered a lot of sports. But that's by the by. But so it's not surprising that they want to shut that down. But there were other things on the list, and I think the vast majority of them were unreasonable. Have you got the list in front of you?
I do, yeah. I mean,
just on that, I read somewhere that when BBC, with a Saudi-led group set up the first news network in Saudi Arabia and the Middle East to cater for the Middle East, and that was relatively free until they started criticizing the Saudi royal family. And then they got shut down straight away. And a lot of those people who worked for the BBC just went across to Qatar and joined Al Jazeera, which opened up 7 months later.
Is that right?
So that was part of that became part of the fabric of Al Jazeera. And that's why I think, coming back to your question of why is it more freer than others, is possibly because of that kind of roots that it had at that early stage.
The two main papers in the UAE, I focus on the UAE because that's where I spent most of my time, but you've got the Gulf News and the Khalij Times. They're the kind of the two most popular papers, and they claim to be independent thought leaders and all this, but each of them, of those newspapers, nothing is allowed to go to press until it's been approved by the office.
Shock.
Nothing at all.
Shock horror.
And of course, and any photo of the ruling family, the Maktoum family, has to come from that office. So it can't be just somebody's taken a snap and published. It's got to be an official photo. So there's absolutely zero free press. That's why you never read about the abhorrent labour camps that happen in I'm not going to go down that road, but you never read the negative stuff. It's always the glitz and the glamour of Dubai and Abu Dhabi.
You do see, like, on a channel for other new television broadcasters available, you see their documentaries about forced labour, slave labour, how many people are dying when they're making all these skyscrapers and things, working conditions, and all this, but you never see it. Never, and this is someone's taken a hidden camera, and they've gone there.
Exactly.
And obviously, you couldn't do that in North Korea, for example, because they follow you over there. But the security is lax in some of these states. You can
I think we're talking about Middle East and Saudi and other countries as well, where they have zero freedom. But even in the Western world, even in Britain, I mean, we've seen BBC very often, not reporting. When other people are reporting, they're visibly not reporting. And that's why one of the reasons why Al Jazeera shot to prominence, especially Al Jazeera English, was because the viewers felt, and I have personally spoken to non-Muslims. Actually one of the girls at work, actually, more recently, and they, she said her husband stopped watching BBC. And is more prefers to watch Al Jazeera because he feels that it provides a more of a balanced narrative than BBC does, and other news organizations, even in Britain, because there is always, I think with all these organizations, BBC is supposed to be independent, the money comes from the state, but that with all these organizations, they have a particular political agenda, and depending on who's at the top, that then comes down the pipe. So in that sense, we are in the media here is freer than others, but it's not absolutely free, as we often see in America, Fox News and others, it's quite blatantly partisan in that regards.
And meanwhile, Mr. Murdoch is trying. to buy Sky. Finish off buying Sky, I should say.
Actually, just on that, we saw the more recent ramifications of that, where Jeremy Corbyn. The media completely crucified him. Without any real justification. I'm not a Labour member or anything like that. But in that, it was so obvious that there was this whole attack of Jeremy Corbyn's character. And his attack, in his lack of leadership and so on and so forth. Yet when it came to the polls, that was a very different story. So that's just one of the representations of how the media in this country, has a particular political stance.
I think there's a no-go, by the way, on the TV station. I think that's going to stay broadcasting.
I think so.
The other one was severing all ties with the Muslim Brotherhood, which is banned in other Arab states, and refusing to nationalise citizens from 4 countries and expel those currently on its territory. in what the country described as an effort to keep Qatar from meddling in their internal affairs.
Yeah, I think if we pick on the I want to get onto two, one Muslim Brotherhood and the Turkish military base, which is interesting.
Which is very interesting.
But before that, the very first one on the list was to cut ties with Iran.
Yeah,
I think that's an interesting one.
That is a very interesting one.
Yeah.
I think that there just shows Saudi Arabia's real hand here. It's got no patience whatsoever for Iran. And if you're part of the Gulf Council, you should not be talking to Iran because we're the biggest leaders in the whole of the Middle East. I think that is overtly trying to take control of anybody other than them. It's essentially flexing its muscles to say, look, you can and who you can and can't talk to. One of the people you can and can't talk to is Iran. And as soon as I saw that, brother, the only thing that went through my mind here was they're thinking, right, they share a gas field with them. Who said you can talk to these people? I think it was Eid, the guy called, the Emir called the leader of Iran and wished them an Eid Mubarak or something along those lines anyway. And that, they took that as an insult. I mean, things like this is just absolutely ridiculous. Yeah. We're heading towards an advert. We're going to definitely pick this up. I think it's really, really important.
But just quickly, the thing is, on Qatar, the thing is, they've had dialogue with Iran, but the two countries are hardly friends.
Yes, and that's right.
Because they
I mean, I suppose it's no different to UAE having their relationship with Iran, right, or even Bahrain. They all share that kind of strip with Iran. So, let's come back after the break.
We will come back. Thanks very much for listening. Please stay tuned. We'll be back after these short ad breaks, still with Brother Amir.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
1 in every 10 people live without access to safe, clean water. Let's give them a better choice than drinking either dirty water or no water at all. Together, we can turn this desperate situation around by delivering safe water solutions to the world's poorest people. Call 0161 225 0225 or visit humanappeal.org.uk.
Do you have lots of clutter at home or in the office that needs to be kept but nowhere to keep it? Ivet Self-Storage offers a secure, affordable, clean and dry home for your belongings. We have security systems in place which are monitored 24 hours a day, ensuring that your items are safe. With a simple monthly payment, Ivet Self-Storage provides secure and tailored facilities to meet your specific requirements, whether short or long term. We offer the best prices and longest opening hours in Peterborough. For more information, please call on 01733 306 456 or visit us at Ivet Way, Westwood.
Third world and developing countries are home to some of the most vulnerable children on the planet. Malnutrition, severe lack of medical aid and access to clean water are just some of the horrific challenges faced by orphans across Africa and Asia. Children of Adam, a Peterborough charity, need your help to bring aid to these orphans for just £25 a month. To sponsor an orphan or assist with other projects, please call 0300 321 0032 or visit www.childrenofadam.net.
City Homes Estate Agents are your #1 independent family-owned agency in Peterborough. We offer a range of services including buying, selling, letting, mortgages and conveyancing. Why not call us today and find out for yourself why our customers return time and time again. We have a track record for achieving some of the highest prices in and around the area for our clients. With over 10 years of operating in the area, we are the experts in this market. Put us to the test today by calling 01733 348 677 and quote discount code radio for our exclusive rates for this promotion. City Homes, bringing people together for over 10 years.
आला बड़े पैसे आई गए ने कराना दो भाई काम शुरू कराए पैसे नहीं भाई यूके प्लम्बिंग एंड डीआईवाई नहीं ऑफर ही इस तरह नहीं है लाला यूके प्लम्बिंग वाले कड़ियां कड़ियां चीजां बेचने न घर है कि अपग्रेड करनियां सारियां चीजां बाथां टॉयलेटां टैप्स बॉयलर रेडिएटर प्लम्बिंग फिटिंग्स पेंट स्टोर डीआईवाई टाइलां सारा कुछ बेचने नहीं चीजां कोई सस्तियां में बेचने को नहीं ओए साल ले 12 महीने इन्हां दी ऑफरां लगी होणियां नहीं और जल्दी कर मी पता दस होए मैं भी कराना काम शुरू करासां ए किन्ना पता
Please visit us at Unit 2 Brassey Close, Lincoln Road Industrial Estate, PE1 2AZ, or call 01733 555 826. UK Plumbing and DIY. A name you can trust.
मेरा नाम आयशा है और मेरा ताल्लुक कश्मीर ऑर्फन्स रिलीफ ट्रस्ट मीरपुर से है। कोर्ट एजुकेशनल कम्प्लेक्स जरीकस मेरे ख्वाबों की जन्नत, जहां बेहतरीन देखभाल, आला तालीम, बेपनाह प्यार और मेहरबान शफकत हम सबको हासिल है। अब फेज 2 में 500 बच्चों और बच्चियों के लिए रिहाइशगाहें बन रही हैं और इसके लिए 9 करोड़ रुपए चाहिए। मुझे यकीन है आप मायूस नहीं करेंगे।
कश्मीर ऑर्फन्स रिलीफ ट्रस्ट 0300 123 774 court.org.uk.
You're listening to Peterborough's community radio, Salaam Radio, 106.2 FM.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Let's Talk on Salaam Radio, your weekly current affairs show with me, Brother Hamid, and our special guest, Ahmed Sulaiman. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Welcome back to the show, brothers and sisters and listeners worldwide. We're talking about the crisis in Qatar. We left it on a very poignant point, I feel, brothers. Iran.
Major point.
And its relationship with Iran, yeah.
Yeah.
And then its relationship with Saudi Arabia, or non-relationship, should we say. So so one of the things on the list was that they wanted them to immediately stop essentially
cut all cooperation. Yeah.
Why would they do that, brother?
Yeah, it's interesting why. I mean, clearly, I mean the two regional powers are Iran and Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
And Iran to a large extent was ostracized and was kind of contained when there was this kind of anti-Iran position from the American administration.
Yeah.
But under Barack Obama, he brought Iran in from the cold, and then Iran went around the world signing up billions and billions of dollars worth of deals, especially with France and partly Britain and the US and other countries, which obviously suddenly, Saudi started feeling the threat of its kind of regional kind of aspirations, I suppose, and then thereafter, you had the Syrian war, which is going on now, where Iran pretty much is supporting Bashar al-Assad.
Well, this is just on that point really quickly. They oppose different sides, don't they? Qatar and Iran oppose different sides in the civil war in Syria. So again, they're not exactly friends.
No, they're not. No.
So, sorry to cut in.
No, absolutely. So yeah, and actually, Saudis and Qataris sport pretty much the same side. To a large extent. So and as Qatar is shares a land border with Saudi Arabia, it doesn't share a land border. So really, Qatar has a more closer relationship with Saudi Arabia in so many ways,
right?
Than it does with Iran.
Yeah.
But I think it just goes to show even the smallest amount of cooperation is seen negatively in Saudi quarters. But consider that with UAE has a similar cooperation with Iran, and Bahrain does as well, and other countries do, because obviously regional countries have regional corporations, various different trade deals and so on and so forth. But yeah, Qatar and to a large extent, I think this list has been put together as a way of punishing Qatar, not because of its relationship with Iran, because like I said, other countries have that, but a way of punishing Qatar for its foreign policy, which doesn't align itself with Saudi foreign policy, and its global dominance with its sovereign wealth fund, which is in 380 billion, something like that.
Phenomenal.
The Qatar Investment Authority, which is the sovereign wealth fund. I sold them software, so I know.
Oh wow, there you go.
They own half of London.
Explains the Bentley.
I don't own a Bentley, for the record. Just want to let people know.
Okay.
Well, it's close enough.
I rent it. No, I'm joking. So
not gold plated.
They own half of London, don't they?
Qatar,
I think the Savoy is one of theirs, and Harrods, of course, famously. The Shard.
The other thing to add here as well is the Qataris actually share the gas field with Iran.
North field,
So there would be a level of communication because of that one reason alone.
Well, I think Qatar for a while has been feeling a sense of, in 2014 they had that slight rift with the other GCC countries. So for a while, I think Qatar has been feeling a sense of being rejected by its brotherly neighbours, which has then pushed it to look at other avenues, and one of them is a closer cooperation with Iran over the North Field, I think it's called.
I think it is
the North Field, and actually Qatar recently announced announced that they're going to up the liquid gas by 30%.
Yep.
And Iran was going to announce the same, which then one of the commentators, actually Walter Fisk, in his article writes that could be problematic for the US companies, because they may not be able to compete.
Right.
So because this kind of crisis came off the back of Donald Trump's visit.
Yes.
True. And he tweeted to that effect, and he kind of singled out Qatar in his tweets. So all this stuff amounts to a kind of isolation of Qatar, not necessarily because of these 13 points, because these 13 points to a large extent are ridiculous.
They are.
Yeah, and they're unachievable.
They don't mean anything. I mean, Saudis saying that, or these groups saying that Qatar supports terrorism. Well, I mean, what does Saudi do?
Yeah,
what has it been doing for? I mean, ISIS has largely come about through Saudi counter-rating the in the Syrian crisis. So they want the Free Syrian Army, the FSA, to have the advancements it was doing, because they thought they might threaten their sort of emirship or kingship,
right?
And because of freedoms that it would probably offer the FSA, because they were they were supported by Western governments as well. That they then supported other groups to counter that.
Yeah.
Just in case they did, so there's all sorts of people supporting all sorts of groups within these conflicts.
Yeah, very messy indeed. Please get involved in these conversations, listeners. You can call the studio on 01733 602 133, or you can text WhatsApp us on 077 452 978. Brother.
No, I was going to say that some are saying that this is, and it's an obvious statement, but some are saying this is more about politics than terrorism.
Yes.
And it's an attempt to scapegoat Qatar, to be honest, which I actually agree with. I don't know what your thoughts are, brothers, in terms of that as a statement. Do you think there is more about an attempt to scapegoat Qatar?
Without a doubt. In my opinion, at the moment, what's happening in the world, certainly in this country, and it's not the only country, certainly in Western countries, a large finger is now pointing towards Riyadh.
Right.
And it's got a statement which says no one's going to hide behind the bushes anymore, or behind the curtains, and not say Saudi Arabia isn't a state funder of terrorism.
Right.
Because to that end, Theresa May, the Prime Minister of this country, has been pressed continuously for a report which was commissioned underneath the leadership of Cameron.
Yes.
About who's funding terrorism, and everybody knows they're saying it's the Saudis. Yet because Theresa May doesn't want to lose that economic relationship, doesn't want to lose that historical ties Britain has with the kingdom, doesn't want to be the Prime Minister who actually releases the report, then goes on record after she's been to Saudi Arabia. I think it was the second country she went to when she became the Prime Minister.
Was it?
And then say, oh well, yeah, it is the Saudis. Again, going back to what the brother said there, literally biting the hands that feed them, and we're talking about BA systems here, for example.
Oh, huge.
Right? So Trump goes to Saudi Arabia, has a red carpet rolled out in front of him, signs billions of dollars worth of arms deals,
120 or so billion,
which we covered in the previous show, and then they must have spoke about Qatar,
which may not materialize actually, because Congress probably oppose it, but anyway.
And then you got the issue there of gas and all these little things at play. All these things come into a pool. So he has a go at Qatar, and lo and behold, all this is happening in Ramzan. Can you remember? And then a few weeks later, what do you see? Qatar signed another deal with the States for arms as well.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, Trump did famously say that we're going to sell them wonderful weapons, beautiful weapons. Yeah. So that's just, I mean, somebody who advocates war and killing and selling beautiful quote unquote weapons, I mean, that's just goes to show their state. But I think in answer to your question, I mean, I think there's another dimension to this, and that really is about regional dominance. I think Saudi for a long time, and it still exerts a huge amount of dominance because of petrodollars. So it's reined in countries. They said, right, you need to cut ties with Maldives. I mean, 4 countries, and other smaller African countries. It's gone around, Libya,
Pakistan,
it's in a crisis.
Which side you?
Yeah, but I mean, Pakistan didn't. But the point is that it's gone, and it said, look, Somalia is another one. That you either side with us, or we're not gonna give you any aid or money, or we're not gonna support your economy, or so on and so forth. And I think it felt that Qatar, it can't reign in Qatar.
Yeah,
it could reign in all the other countries, but Qatar is, it's in per capita, it is the number one richest country.
It is,
and $136,000. Yet the second one is Switzerland, 80,000. So it's a massive contrast. So it can't reign in Qatar.
Let me ask you this. Kuwait and Oman, 2 members of the GCC, and they haven't got involved with this.
No. Actually, Kuwait has tried to mediate.
Yeah, they're trying to mediate. But I mean, are they going?
And Oman has today said that it's going to deal in the currency at the rate that the Qatari currency is. So yeah.
So the first question is, why haven't they got involved?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you two brothers. And secondly, do you think they will have any power when it comes to mediation? Do you think it will be accepted for them to get involved in this discussion?
I think on a mediation level, I think Kuwait certainly are trying to. I think they feel more empowered knowing that Turkey has got involved.
Right.
So I think on that level in the council, they'll have a say. Whether or not they'll be taken seriously is a different matter, because for some reason, the Saudis, the UAE, Bahrain, they've gone into the trenches now.
Yeah.
Essentially, this story, the actions of this group of countries have got so far now. They're so entrenched. They're going to lose face now if they go back on their word.
Right.
And so what they need to do is they need to get something out of it. So look what happened. So they gave them demands, and then they didn't meet them. And then we have this statement that's come from a meeting in Cairo.
Yeah.
And the Egypt Foreign Minister Sameh Shukri, I hope I said that properly, said Qatar's response was, and I quote, overall negative and lacked any content, and lacked any understanding of the seriousness and gravity of the situation. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, they've looked, and it was a handwritten response from the Emir of Qatar, which is then delivered to the King of Kuwait, or whoever the leader is. He then, with the mediator, the Emir, he then goes to them and says, right, here's what it is. They've read it, and they've looked, well, they're not taking this seriously. What can we do about this?
Right.
But in the meantime, Rex Tillerson from the States has got involved. Our good old Boris Johnson from the UK has got involved. But Trump actually called a member of the Saudi families, and also I think it was Bahrain, and said, look, and also the Emir of Qatar, and said, look, you guys need to work this out.
Yeah.
This needs a resolution, right? But the problem that they've got here now, the Americans especially, is they need all these countries on side so they can keep the bogeyman, the elephant in the room, Iran.
Yeah.
Right? Now they've got Qatar. If Qatar now splits away from these countries saying, well, no, you can't touch us. We're a sovereign country. You can't do this to us. They're worried now that they will fall into the clutches of Iran.
I don't think anyone wants. I mean, they don't want GCC as a collective,
right?
Which was designed to. With the help of the British, actually,
it was,
which was designed to kind of make these countries work and cooperate together.
The Gulf Cooperation Council.
The Gulf Cooperation Council. I don't think they want this. I think their advisors, the advisors who kind of came up with this strategy should be fired. Because they've clearly misread. And I mean there must be. I mean, the worst politicians that we are, because we can look at these different points. Which sovereign country that's not weak, that's economically strong, has international relationships and cooperation, has the largest military base of the American military base, has a Turkish military base being built, has this kind of major cooperation around the world. Who in the right mind will say, actually, you know what, we'll sign on these 13 points.
It beggars belief.
These people need to be fired. I think the Saudis have misread this and quite honestly, they have. It's not just in this. In the Yemeni war that this crown prince has taken, King Salman has taken the Saudis and the other allied who actually on the largest extent they pestered the allies to send their forces. That's been a mess.
Yes.
I mean, everything this guy touches turns into dust.
And to add to that as well,
to a large extent, I don't know what he's done so far. That's been really good for the regional country.
Earlier on Wednesday, the Qatari Foreign Minister said that the country wouldn't, and this goes along with Brother Hamid just said, it's not going to act on any plan which breaches international law,
of course,
or interferes with its sovereignty. Speaking at Chatham House in London, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani accused Saudi Arabia and its allies of demanding that we must surrender our sovereignty as the price for ending this siege. That's what this is. It does feel like that. That's what's happening, saying, like you said earlier on, you do this way, or that's it. You're going to lose absolutely everything.
I mean, these 13 points are a joke. I mean, take, for example, one of them, point number 8, pay compensation. This crisis is Qatar's fault, and so this is a blockade by Saudi-led group, and they need to pay compensation for it. I mean, it's an absurd statement. If you are seriously saying that this is because of, and every sovereign country has a right to sort of say and demand of its neighbors to act in a just and fair way, absolutely. But if you're saying on the one hand this is to do with terrorism, But on the other hand, you're giving 13 points which have no bearing and no relationship to that, with no evidence. It beggars belief that these advisors that they have, who are probably getting paid a lot of money, cannot come up with something better.
I agree with you.
So there was this, I don't know if you read this, Jane Kininmont, who's the deputy head of the Middle East and North Africa programme at Chatham House. And she said that the situation could be resolved, but Qatar would need to compromise to please some of the Arab states leading the isolation. And she was asked, is there any truth in the claims about Qatar? And she said there's some truth, there's some exaggeration. She goes on to say, I found this interesting, about it being a scapegoat, but she said there are some very odd claims emerging from Bahrain suggesting that Qatar has been plotting with Iran to destabilise Bahrain, which seems extremely unlikely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very extreme.
Yeah.
And she says, just the point I made earlier about them opposing different sides in the civil war in Syria, so they're not friends. But then she goes on to say that she thinks several of the Gulf countries, including Saudi Arabia, have been accused of failing to crack down on their nationals when their nationals have been suspected of financing terrorism. That's changed a lot in Saudi Arabia over the last few years because they're facing frequent attacks by ISIS on their own territory. Qatar is not facing that.
That's very interesting.
It's an interesting point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I felt.
To add to that then, so the foreign minister in the same meeting also said that what we've done in the last few weeks is develop different alternative for ways to ensure the supply chain for our country not to be cut off. And he further went on, which I thought was very, very interesting, and he said, even if the blockade is lifted, we have to rely on ourselves and ensure we deliver a World Cup that is attractive to the world. Don't forget, it's due to host the World Cup in 2022.
22.
It's only four and a bit years.
It's going to fly by.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
I think one of their points, point number 9, was the one that really outlined.
What was that one?
And that was that Qatar must align its military, political, social, and economic policies with the Saudi-led group.
Yeah.
I'll be like, sorry.
I mean, that's effectively an enslavement of a sovereign. Marwan Bashir, who's the Al Jazeera's senior political advisor, and who's talked very much on this. He said, talking about these points, he said it shows a lack of total ignorance of international relations and a lack of understanding about state sovereignty. And I think clearly there is, and then he goes on to say that there's clearly no evidence. If there was evidence, they would have presented it. And it's a humiliation and really an attempt to kind of get Qatar to surrender its sovereignty, which I think is what we're saying.
That's exactly.
And it's quite clear. I mean, if you look at these points, you look at what's what they've been saying, and to a large extent, I don't really care. I don't really think that they care too much about these points. I think they just put them together because Rex Tillerson said that they need to provide.
Right.
They need to provide the evidence and provide a clear and reasonable and workable
and I think
to this.
sorry, just really quickly, the salt in the wound is the Saudi foreign minister was saying, and I quote, "We're doing this to help Qatar."
This is ridiculous.
That's what he said.
Just to quote him a little bit more,
if you're the only tool that you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So
I love it. I love
Jeremy
that.
Clarkson.
Sorry,
is that a quote from Jeremy Clarkson?
No, well, here clearly, if you're an authoritarian kind of leader, then you probably do think that you're trying to help Qatar because of their liberal positions.
Absolutely. Sorry, brother, you were saying.
No, I was just going to quote him just the last bit. When he said Qatar was asked to curtail free expression, hand individual people over to torture, reduce its defence capabilities, go against international law, outsource its foreign policy to Riyadh and Abu Dhabi, like you were saying, literally sign an open check to the blockading countries to pay an unlimited amount of money described as compensation. This is absurd.
It's nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Are we living in 2017? What's going on here?
I have no idea, but I do want to get on. I know we don't have a huge amount of time left, and the only country in that region that really is clapping its hand, and this is according to Robert Fisk, really is applauding this crisis more than anyone else is Israel. Because they must be loving this, right? Because where there were these countries surrounding Israel, probably anti-Israel, or maybe not, certainly there is treatment of the Palestinian people, now are saying that, well, actually, this is good for us because this is, as they said, we've never had a better cooperation with the Arab world.
Right.
And to just quote the the Israeli Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman, who said in talking about this crisis, he said that and the split in the GCC, he said that this opens possibilities of cooperation in the battle against terrorism.
Right.
And then he goes on to say that, as it shows that that even in the Arab states, they understand that the danger is not Zionism but terrorism. And I just thought, whoa.
Wow.
I mean, this is.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that mean?
It means that the tables are turning, brother.
Yeah, I suppose it does.
You know, as in what? I mean, so say for example that the Israeli state largely claims to be Zionist state, right?
You had to bring this point up when we had.
No. What I'm saying. No,
we're gonna pick this up again. Don't you worry.
Okay. But what I'm saying is that it's saying, and yet everyone, the international community, as well as the UN resolutions and all sorts of things out there, point to its maltreatment of Palestinian people.
Yes.
Right. It's annexing land, illegal settlements, it's illegal building the wall, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Which to a large extent people would call terrorism, because they're terrorizing. I mean, I looked it up, the definition of terrorism: the unlawful use of violence and intimidation, especially against civilians in pursuit of a political aim. Zionism is a political project, and its treatment of Palestinian people is and especially against civilians is through the use of violence. And yet the audacity of the defense minister to say that, you know, actually separate terrorism from Zionism. I when I read this, I couldn't believe it. I just thought
it's crazy.
I'm gobsmacked, genuinely gobsmacked at that statement. Although I'm not shocked.
In a weird way.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I can't believe that.
Yeah.
But I see where that person's coming from.
How do you see where the person's coming from?
The point being is, look at these people. You know, there's a meltdown going on in the Arab world right now.
Yeah.
And they're focusing on themselves. Look, we were right all along. It's terrorism. It's not us. It's not Zionism. We've not done anything wrong. We were right all along. It's going to be these guys. It's their people killing everybody. Now they're having an internal conflict. Now they're arguing who's supporting it. Where are we? We're right. We're the guys with the halos on our head.
Yeah.
It's shocking, bro. I'm not going to lie. It's just completely.
No, the fact that Israel has been responsible for more wars in the Middle East than any other country goes to show that that's a complete contradiction in statement. I mean, it has attacked sovereign states. It has bombarded Gaza, or not on one. Well, you know, it has the mowing the lawn policy.
Just on that, because you mentioned Palestine, Israel, Gaza. I mean, the Palestinian civilians, and I read an article today, they're actually fearful of what's happening in Qatar, because it's a major ally and donor for the Palestinians, and they've built 2,000 apartments for Palestinians, low income to live in. So these guys are worried.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
and they would be worried, because this gives more boldment. I mean, at the end of the day, Israel, to a large extent, although nothing, not even international law curtails their efforts, but sometimes it does probably feel that, you know, it needs to keep the neighbors on its side. But if the neighbors are then aligning or some of the neighbors are aligning themselves with their policy and their agenda, and actually to a large extent calling the Palestinians terrorists, which is, you know, which is their attempt at trying to get freedom, is involvement for the Israelis.
Absolutely.
And this is unfortunate state of the world that we're living in.
Sadly.
It is. I mean, yes, absolutely. The problem is that people who there will always be a group of people who want change for the better.
Yes.
Who want to have freedoms, who want to have liberties that we enjoy in this country, who want to have a justice and fairness. And there are always going to be a larger group of people who fear that their economic interests are going to be threatened, as we're seeing, by this advocating of these democratic institutions, freedoms, liberties, and they're fearful of that. So they are then going to do everything in their power to curtail that. And you know, Saudi, other GCC countries, including Israel, you know, are all party to that kind of crackdown and oppression on the right of freedom, people to have freedom fairly and justly.
I'm conscious of the time, so we're going to have to wrap up the show now. I just want to say thank you very much, Brother Hamid. And Brother Amr, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show.
It's I've
been a
invaded your
pleasure.
home, but I felt comfortable.
No, you haven't. Honestly, we miss you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
We'll check
Next
the
week.
seat, though, next week. So I just want to quickly go through some community events we have in Peterborough. So we have the Peterborough Interfaith Council. They invite everybody to a fun sports evening, badminton and table tennis, would you believe? Wednesday the 12th of July 2017. That's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Entry is free. Everyone is welcome. You can contact Zaid on 0771 131 1178. The event will take place at St John Fisher Catholic High School, Park Lane, and the postcode there is Papa Echo 1 5 Juliet November. And the other one?
Do you work in security?
Did you guess that? I should have
the
said,
other one.
Should have said 1800 to 2000 hours.
Yeah. So the other one is an annual cricket match that's played every year, annually. Hence the annual cricket match.
I've been to one of these.
Have you been to one?
Yeah.
Was it
Our
annual?
team lost.
Oh, so this is between the staff at Peterborough City Council and officers of Cambridgeshire Constabulary versus the Peterborough's Joint Mosque Group members.
Wow.
So people of all ages. Family and children are welcome. All proceeds raised will be donated to Pancreatic Cancer UK. This is Jack Hunt School, Sunday the 9th of July, 2 till 6:30. We won't be in Peterborough, unfortunately.
No, we won't, no.
Charity cricket match. If you need more information, Abdul Malik on 07920 160506. You can go along and play, or go along and support, or just donate to a very worthy cause. So again, Jack Hunt, Sunday the 9th of July, 2 till 6:30.
Well worth going along to that.
Yes, and don't forget the Interfaith Fun Sports Evening, which is the 12th of July at St John Fisher School. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It's been great.
And you should really visit us more often. Don't be a stranger, brother.
No, I'd love to.
You know, I know you like to get into only the meaty subjects, but it's been great having your expertise here.
Bless you for that.
So yeah, thanks very much for everyone's company. We look forward to your company again next week. Hopefully we'll have another thought-provoking subject. In the meantime, I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Have you got anything planned? I think we're doing something together, aren't we?
We are on Sunday, and that's why we won't be here for the cricket tournament.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
I'm sure you wanted to be a goalkeeper. Sorry, a wicketkeeper, didn't you?
Sorry?
You wanted to be
cheerleader.
Cheerleader.
Okay.
Along with you, Amma.
Thanks for listening. Take care. Salaam alaikum.
Stay tuned to Salaam Radio after this short ad break.
Penny Appeal are doing something special. They're giving you the chance to make sure that 100% of your zakat is going to help people